Welcome to our explainer on ACI Field Grade 1 certification. Today, we're diving into one of the most fundamental procedures you'll need to master, the slump test for fresh concrete.
Look, this might seem simple, but the devil is in the details. This explainer is going to be your virtual trainer. We're focusing on the exact specs, the procedures, and most importantly, the numbers you absolutely have to know to pass both your written and your performance exams. So, let's get you ready for test day.
So first off, why do we even do this? What makes this test so critical? Well, it's not just about how much water is in the mix. It's about measuring two really key properties of the concrete, its consistency and its workability.
To put it simply, you can think of consistency as how wet or fluid the mix is, and workability is all about how easy it is to handle, to get it placed, compacted, and finished. The slump test gives us a standard, repeatable way to put a number on that, making sure the concrete meets the job specs and is going to perform the way it was designed to.
All right, let's talk tools. For your exam, knowing your equipment inside and out is just as important as knowing the procedure. So let's take a look at the essential tools and specifically their critical dimensions. First up, we've got the slump cone. Now, it can be made of metal or plastic, that doesn't really matter. What matters are the dimensions. They are absolutely non-negotiable, and I can pretty much guarantee you these numbers will be on your written test. You have to memorize these three numbers. The cone is 12 inches high, the top opening is 4 inches, and the bottom is 8 inches. There's a really easy way to remember this. Just think 4, 8, 12. Next up is the tamping rod. This is what you'll use for consolidation. And you guessed it, just like the cone, its specifications are super important for your exam.
So the two things to burn into your brain here are the 5/8 inch diameter and that hemispherical tip. That rounded tip is so important. If you use a rod with a flat or pointy end, you'd just be poking holes in the concrete, not consolidating it, and that would totally invalidate the test. To finish up your toolkit, you're going to need a scoop, a measuring tape that's marked down to 1/4 inch, and of course a timer. Oh, and don't forget your base. It has to be rigid and non-absorbent. Seriously, if you try to do this on a flimsy piece of plywood that soaks up water, it's just going to ruin your result. Okay, time for the main event, the step-by-step procedure. You need to follow this exactly, because you can bet the examiner will be watching every single move you make. This is a great illustration of the whole process, from filling up the cone all the way to measuring the final result. So let's break this down, piece by piece. Preparation is everything. You got to make sure your mold is damp and that you're holding it down securely on a proper surface. Then you start filling it in 3 distinct layers. And here's a key detail. It's 3 layers of equal volume, not equal height. For each of those 3 layers, you have to rod the concrete exactly 25 times. You want to distribute those strokes evenly over the whole area. Not 24, not 26, the number is 25, period. This is another one of those critical details for the performance exam. When you're rodding the second and third layers, you have to make sure the rod goes about 1 inch into the layer underneath it. You're basically knitting the layers together to create one solid specimen. So once the cone is full and you've leveled off the top, the lift becomes the most critical part of the whole test. Clean off any spilled concrete from around the base and then lift straight up. I mean straight up, no twisting. And you have to do it in 5 ± 2 seconds. So you've got a window, anywhere from 3 to 7 seconds. This timing is a straight-up pass or fail item on the performance test. You got to nail it. And the whole thing, from the moment you start filling the cone to the moment you finish lifting it, has to be done in under 2.5 minutes. That time goes by faster than you think, so time management is absolutely essential here. Okay, so you've performed the test perfectly. Now what? How do you measure and report the slump accurately? Simple enough. You're going to turn the cone upside down and set it right next to your slumped concrete. Then, just lay your tamping rod across the top of the cone, measure from the bottom of the rod down to the center of your sample, and you report that number to the nearest 1/4 inch. Now, this is a big one. You have to know what a good test looks like versus a bad one. On the left, that's a valid slump. See how it's settled down evenly? But on the right, that's called a shear slump, where a chunk of it just falls away to one side. If that happens, stop. The test is no good. Don't even try to measure it. You have to just throw it out and do a completely new test. All right, let's lock in these facts with a quick fire review. Think of these as a couple of the most common questions you might see, pulled right from the ACI study guide.
Okay, first question, let's lock this in your brain. How many layers do you fill the slump mold in?
That's right, it's 3. And remember what we said, it's 3 layers of about equal volume. It's a really common mistake to just eyeball the height and make 3 equal layers that way, but that'll throw off the whole test. Volume is the key word.
Okay, last question. And this is the one that really catches a lot of people on the performance test. After you've done all the rotting, what's the time window you have for lifting that slump mold?
It's 5 plus or minus 2 seconds. Mastering that steady, vertical lift inside that 3 to 7 second window is absolutely key to passing. If you can remember these numbers and practice the procedure, you're going to be one huge step closer to earning your certification. It just goes to show you, even the simplest looking test demands some serious precision, don't they?